I was walking out of my cabin to the main area of the camp, and there's this little hill, and these two little girls were sitting on the hill, 6 years old, and they had these little books in their hands. And I'm like, what are you guys looking at? And they're like, these are our memory books. And I'm like, well, what is a memory book? Because I had never been to camp before. I didn't know what that was. And they're like, well, they're pictures of our dads. And so you went through, and one of them was flipping through, and there's this picture of her mom and her dad in a cave, which sounds weird, but she was in the womb. And so she's like, here I am with my dad, because she wasn't actually born until after her dad was killed in the line of duty.
All the way out from Missouri, I'd like to introduce you guys to Lauren. She's the, what are you?
Development Director.
Development Director for Concerns of Police Survivors. So Lauren, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For anyone who's never seen this show before, I'm not sure where you guys have been hiding, but this is what has become sort of the iconic whiskey wall. All of these bottles are stories from emergency responders, veterans, active military from all over the country. I asked you guys, instead of bringing me whiskey, to bring me some swag. So first of all, let's dive into Concerns of Police Survivors. For people who are not familiar with it, what is the organization?
We exist to rebuild the shattered lives of family members and coworkers of officers killed in the line of duty. So in short, when an officer is killed in the line of duty, we provide services to their children, spouse, parents, etc.
The first time I met you was at the trauma conference up in Chicago. I think I spent 3 days crying thanks to the people that you introduced me to. The stories that came out of that week were, I mean, amazing and powerful. How do you get through every single day hearing so many stories, engaging with survivors, whether they be spouses or kids? How do you do it?
So when I first started at COPS, it was hard, I'll say that. I cried a little bit. But the longer I was at COPS and the more survivors I got to interact with, the more I got to see the healing that COPS brings. And when you see that and you experience that and you hear the stories, it changes your whole perspective on it. So.
When you think about where we are in society these days, last year we had, something like 150 officers who were killed in the line of duty. How do people begin to even process that who may not necessarily have been directly impacted by losing an officer?
That's a really great question and a hard question. I'll never forget when I first started at COPS, I went to adult children's retreat, and I met a survivor who she had lost her dad in the line of duty that year, along with another girl who was also at adult children's retreat. And the man who killed both of their dads in the same night had been deported 9 times. And I tell you what, that hit a level that I had never, like being in Missouri, we're not near the border. I'd never thought about that before. And it was really impactful to see and to hear that really does happen.
You told me a story earlier today about 2 kids at the kids event that you put on. Let's talk a little bit about what happens in Wisconsin and that memory that you have. So
COPS Kids Camp is for kids ages 6 to 14. So they come in from all over the country with their surviving guardian. Most of the time that's a mother, sometimes that's a father, sometimes that's a grandparent. So I've been to Kids Camp twice. I'm excited I get to go back this year. I missed the last 2 years, and the first year I went, I'll never forget, I was walking out of my cabin to the main area of the camp, and there's this little hill, and these 2 little girls were sitting on the hill, 6 years old, and they had these little books in their hands. And I'm like, what are you guys looking at? And they're like, these are our memory books. And I'm like, well, what is a memory book? Because I had never been to camp before. I didn't know what that was. And they're like, well, they're pictures of our dads. And so you went through, and one of them was flipping through, and there's this picture of her mom and her dad in a cave, which sounds weird, but she was in the womb. And so she's like, here I am with my dad, because she wasn't actually born until after her dad was killed in the line of duty. And so even at 6, for them to come to this kids camp together and to meet each other and to realize, hey, we're not alone in this. It was super, super impactful. And then you see the mentors that we have going to kids camp, and then after they turn 15, they go to young adults camp or Outward Bound, and then once they turn 21, they go to adult children's retreat. So oftentimes we'll have surviving adult children come and be mentors at kids camp or young adults camp. And so you'll see those survivors come back who are 15, 20 years down the road who are still connected because of COPS. And so it doesn't matter if one lives in Kansas and one lives in California, they might have met at kids camp when they were 6 years old, and they had that bond and they experienced healing and everything else that comes with that. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. That's what we're all about. So.
One of the areas that you really specialize in at the organization is working with some of the incredible companies that are out there that support concerns of police survivors. I guess it begs the obvious question of why should these corporations help support cops?
Absolutely. There's a lot of amazing nonprofits out there, but I don't think there's any nonprofit like Concerns of Police Survivors. You come and you meet the survivors and you hear their stories, and you hear what they've lost. And then you think to yourself, how can they ever live again? How can they ever get past this? And you see it before your own eyes. And unfortunately, every year that number continues to grow, or at least the number that we need to support survivors and to grow our services continues to grow. And so we need more support now than ever. I think about Streamlight. They've been with us for many years. I think 2001 was when they first started donating.
Wow.
And Clayton French, his family has been influential, but he's been to so many of our cops walks and has actually walked 400 miles with survivors to support them. And I think about people like that, and I mean, he doesn't just do it to do it. Like, he's come and he's fallen in love with the mission, and he's seen the change and the impact that has happened from it. And so,
awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool example.
Lauren, we talk a little bit about the fact that there are so many different amazing 501c3s out there. I've been blessed to see how you guys operate, and one of the things that I've noticed is that you put a tremendous amount of money back into the actual cause. The admin numbers are extremely low. Let's talk about where people's money goes.
Absolutely. So we are super proud to say that 90 cents of every dollar goes straight back to the survivor. And actually, we are rated amongst 6% of charities across the nation.
So people who want to make a donation, where can they go?
www.concernsofpolicesurvivors.org.
You know, it's really cool. I've seen a lot of people pop up in my news feed saying that instead of asking for presents for their birthday, they're asking for people to make a donation. That's something you could set up for free through Facebook now, right?
Absolutely. Yep. It's very simple and easy and user-friendly. So.
I also rock out a really cool jacket when I go around town with the COPS logo on it. Swag, where can people go for that?
Same site, www.concernsofpolicesurvivors.org.
Awesome. Check it out. Go on their website, guys. Make a donation. $5. Very easy, very cheap. Goes a really, really long way. And if you don't have any free funds to do that, hit that share button, because hopefully you'll be able to help guilt some of your family and friends into supporting what is one of the greatest 501c3s we've ever seen. So thank you so much for making the trip out.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks for hitting that share button. God bless America.